Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the TelcoBridges Podcast. I'm joined once again by our VP of Client Technical Services, Morissette. In today's episode, we're going to discuss network modernizations in emerging markets. So we're going to discuss kind of pattern recognition across different areas of the world as it relates to trends in the telecom voice space, the challenges that are unique or not so unique for emerging market countries, as well as differentiating trends like mobile subscribers, what that means for the voice network, what is IMS, and all of those fun things. So look, as we prepare for a couple of trade shows here between now and the end of the year, one in South Africa, AfricaCom, and then FutureCom in Brazil, we thought we'd dedicate this episode to some of the things we're seeing in the market and with our customers in international jurisdictions. Why don't you kick us off? What are some of those things you've noticed?
Right. So what we see around the world, all the manufacturers, the service providers are all in need to modernize their network. It's the same around the world. It's all the same types of technologies, all the same type of networks. They're all at different stages. Even inside the same country, different companies are at different stages in modernizing their networks. A lot of the networks are packet transmission of data. The data can be applications on your mobile phone, applications, web applications on your computer, or it can also be voice services, right? Which is what we talk more on our industry, right? The voice services, and they are carried over as packets, just like any other traffic over the networks. What we see is a lot more mobile subscribers, and I think you told me the number of subscribers in Brazil.
I think it's 250 million.
So you see that it's a lot of mobile subscribers. They need to get on this traditional voice network so you can reach all the services, the 911 emergency services, and also the businesses with all the need to interact with people with voice, right?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, basically the overarching trend of fiber and broadband deployment and telecom just becoming kind of fiber and broadband and IP based is equally true in other areas of the world. It's just some countries are maybe a little bit ahead of jurisdictions we're familiar with. Some countries might be a little bit behind, but it's like everywhere seems to be the same overarching trend happening.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
What about the challenges in those countries? Because that's where I think it actually deviates a little bit. One of them, for example, I know is budgets, right? Budgets can be constrained oftentimes when you have a lot of things to build out or improve. The voice network, particularly legacy equipment, and the voice network is an area that sometimes becomes more difficult to justify. Curious what you've seen around like budgets and how that translates in these areas.
I think budgets are important everywhere, right? Every company needs to take attention on their budgets and spending. But what you have to think is you need to integrate with a network that exists, right? Or is being built in the environments, and you need to interface with those networks. And it has to be cost effective when you try to do that. It has to be cost effective and also normal amount of effort, right, to be able to integrate that. So you need to have solutions that permit this type of integration.
Right. I'm glad you specified that actually, because the the cost of people's time is more difficult to quantify, but can be pretty serious when it comes to the networking stuff that telcos have to do.
Yeah, and that's customization is what is very time consuming, right? If you can have solutions that integrate easily with those networks or with minimal changes, then it's much more efficient to do that.
Got it. The other challenge we've seen kind of be more present in different countries and kind of emerging markets generally is this concept of fraud. And we've talked about fraud kind of at length on this show. But in areas of the world, it seems when it's a fragmented group of countries as opposed to one overarching regulatory regime, oftentimes those regulatory, like frameworks haven't evolved quite as quickly, which leaves those areas more vulnerable because fraud is a global concept. Like fraud is not, especially over everything IP and is packet based. It's not localized. It's not geography based. It is international. And so naturally those places with less of a regulatory framework or just less protections are more exposed to those types of things.
Correct. So if you have a regulation body inside the country, then all of it can be installed or installed at the same time. Then everybody needs to catch up to this regulation, and then it's a unified solution. If different states in the country do different things, then you may have interoperability issues. You need to make sure that the data that proves that the call is not non-fraudulous is accepted all the way through your network. Different regions of the world again have different ways of doing it. Some are more advanced, some are lagging behind a little bit. So definitely these are things you need to implement in your networks.
So we talked about things being the same in terms of the overarching trends. It sounds like some of the challenges are different for those parts of the world. And then when it comes to kind of immediate things they need, we're back to things being the same. It's a lot of extending the life of copper assets and TDM assets, right? So a VoIP gateway is really helpful for that. You can basically reduce the transport copper cost by basically flipping it into SIP closer to the subscriber, especially thanks to the kind of smaller gateway sizes that we have available. And then on the IP side, it's about a scalable kind of IP solution for your voice network, which an SBC kind of contributes to.
Absolutely right. So you have the installed base of customers, which were there forever. You need to keep them, continuously alive and running with let's say certified equipment, supported equipment, the telecom equipment, right, in the networks. Then you have the interconnection with the mobile networks, which you talk about, a lot of new subscribers in the systems. And you have your voice services that need to exchange between those networks. Sometimes it's the media type that is different. Sometimes it's a signaling trying to reach your destination that's different. Plus, you need to add fraud protection on both maybe the mobile side and the fixed line side. So these are all things you need to improve in the network.
There's constantly evolution.
Yes,
to be moved forward. This is the same thing we see across a variety of countries and variety of operators. One of the trends, one of the things I wanted to ask you about while I have you is we have a couple of customers deploying our ProSBC as an interface to IMS cores. Can you explain a little bit to the audience what IMS means and like in the context of voice networks, like what that is, what it stands for, and what it does?
Sure. So IMS is not only for voice, right? It's for all the services. There was the traditional network that was there in the past. In our last podcast, we explained, traditional operators, traditional manufacturers, very closed networks, difficult to change and interconnect and have the specifications. Okay, today, change completely. Right. So the way to interface between all those networks, the older ones, the newer ones, is to have a core network which everybody can jump in. And how can you jump in a core network is with a specification, right? If you know how to interconnect with something, then you can say, yes, I can put this type of equipment and interconnect and have the traffic flowing almost seamlessly, right? There's always a bit of interrupt to do, but normally it's pretty clear because the specifications are pretty clear, right? So the IMS core, the IP multimedia subsystem core is really a series of specifications to define any type of interconnection with different types of equipment, right? And you can fit into this network in different places. And our equipments, of course, are made to interface with those IMS networks so that we can, go into those new core networks.
I understand it's modular, right? Like there's basically component that does this, component does this. And you were telling me kind of offline that this is the result of trying to integrate mobile networks with fixed line networks. Is that right?
Because yep, absolutely.
And my understanding too of some of the key components of IMS is like there's this subscriber management kind of concept that became like super important with mobile, but that was like easier to manage with fixed line, which makes total sense because your subscriber like wouldn't move.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? We're subscribers in a fixed line. Now you have subscriber mobile. You need to have an interconnection between all those networks. It's just makes sense to do it this way. It was driven by the mobile world because it was growing so fast, but you don't want to lose all your connections to the traditional network and your services which exist, right? Because your 911 services, they're not on the mobile. They go to the landlines, right? That's where your 911 services are. There's no 911 services on mobile, right? It has to go back to the landline, interconnect with the core network, and then the traditional services are provided by the network, the full network. Yeah.
Well, Luc, thanks for joining me once again, and thanks for another great episode. And thanks everybody for watching. For those of you that are curious about learning more about our upcoming events, please feel free to check the link in the description.